Hey y'all, hey, so I'm back with another video. So as y'all could see, I am on the tripod again, raggedy chair, background, some shit's going on right now in my living room, so I'm gonna do my video in here. So, a couple of months ago, I did a video and it was, I think, titled The Joe Budden Podcast is Declining. I think I did that like 4 or 5 months ago. And again, I'm no longer subscribed to that Patreon. Baby, I don't even watch full episodes anymore. I click in to see I literally just use the time marks to see specific topics, maybe one or two, and then I dip out. Like where I am right now with this show compared to like a year ago is insane. Like a year ago, I wasn't missing one episode, not one Patreon. I had the $25 tier, all of that. It's crazy how much like can happen within a year's time, right? But again, I did this video and I did the video a few months ago because even at that time, I felt as if the pod was going like kind of like either like this or kind of like that, but it damn sure wasn't going up. And I kind of went through all of the reasons, why I felt like the show, was declining to me. And again, that was like 4 months ago. So the only thing I really know, like I said, outside of like peeking in here and there is I'm still on the JBT community on Twitter. So I'll pop over there every now and again to see, what they talking about, their vibes and stuff. And what I've noticed specifically, like for real, for over the last like month and some change, it's really been heavy. People are not happy with the show. People are not happy with the show. And I put up a post in the community that got a lot of likes, and a lot of people was commenting underneath it with the 100 or like the bullseye sign. Like somebody else was like, damn, I didn't think about it like that, but you're absolutely right, because mama be seeing shit. I be seeing shit ahead of time. I really do. So before we go over my tweet, right? Because in my tweet, I listed like 4 reasons, and we're going to go over all of those reasons. Some of them are the same from that last video, so I'm not going to harp on some points. But before we get there, I want to talk about Mona. Let's talk about Mona, aka Don't Call Me White Girl, okay? And, how she is on the show, the reception that she's getting. Personally, me, I like Mona on the show. I do think that Mona is used to doing a podcast, kind of like not really by herself, but it's like it's her pod. So she's like the main person that's talking. So I think it's going to be a little bit of an adjustment when you're kind of used to coming from your own thing and you got to come into a space where you got to share. It's like similar to Flip came from a situation where it was just him, the way that he wanted to do it, his own network, and then he had to join like a cast. And when you join a cast, you have to learn to kind of fit in. You can't just kind of like dominate the conversation. You got to figure that out. So I feel like that's what Mona is doing. I feel like Mona is clearly like learning in real time. She's being very open and honest about the fact, like, okay, like I hear y'all critiques of me talking too much or whatever. So, like she's trying her best to like pick her spots or whatever, right? So that's how I feel about Mona. I think, give her a little bit of time, we'll see, if she kind of flows in. But in our reality, like, this might not just be a good fit for Mona. Like, that's the honest truth. It might not be a good fit. I'm not saying that it's not. I'm saying that if we keep going and some of the other stuff that I'm going to talk about continues to like, pop up or we see, it might just be that like Mona in this show might not just be a good fit for each other. And I think that that's okay as well. You got to try things to see whether or not they're going to work. But one of the things too I want to talk about around Mona is the freaking JBT community fandom, whatever the hell. So flip floppity flop 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 flop. So flippity flippity flop 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 flop. When Mel Ford was on this show, niggas love to drag Mel every week. Get her off the show. She's not needed. She needs to go. She's annoying. She complains too much. She does this. She does that. And Mel is gone. And I'm sorry. There's no way that you watch this show like consistently the way that I did, and Mel left and you don't see a clear, like, there is such a hole in this show now, so much to the point to when, like, if I listen to like the clips, you know, like the clips that they do where they do like the best of or the funniest moments, and I hear Mel's voice, like my whole heart be like, it's like a breath of fresh air. Like, I miss Mel Ford, M4, so badly on this pod. And like I said, her absence is like glaring on the show. It's so glaring, y'all. I don't give a fuck what nobody say. Mel Ford not being on this show is showing. It's showing. And the show, we're gonna get into it. Just know that Mel Ford's presence is indeed missed. It's missed, and it's such a glaring hole. Oh my gosh, I miss M4. But like I said, when it comes to Mona, I feel like I said, when it came to Mel Ford, everybody was on some, oh, Mel got, and when Mona had came and guest and did like a guest spot, everybody was like, oh, we need to replace Mel with Mona. Mona would be great. Mona would be great. People was hyping Mona up for a long time before she got on the show. I think that's why Joe even brought her on, is because the fans was really like, yes, we need to bring her on. Now that she's on the show, right, similar to how y'all played Mel, now it's, oh, she don't know how to shut up. And like I said, yes, Mona does need to learn how to pick her spots a little bit better. I'm not negating that, but it's like, it's ridiculous. All I see is Mona talks too much. We need her out of here. Nobody wants to see her. Like, y'all talk about the way she looks. Y'all talk, it's not even, like I said, just about, oh, she talks too much. Y'all talk about her hair. Y'all talk about the way she dressed. Y'all talk about the way that, like, she actually speaks. Like, now there's a problem with Mona, and now all the niggas want Mona off the daggone show. This is how I feel at this point. This is how I feel at this point. If we're going to continue this show, right, I think, especially because I don't watch this shit no more for real, I think it's best if you guys just go back to, as they will call it, the dude cast. Because the dicks in the JBT community seem to get really rock hard when it's a dude cast. They love dude cast, dude cast, dude cast, dude cast. Dude cast was cool when Mel was gone every now and again. You get what I'm saying? But for the most part, it's like, I just think where we are, I just think between, I'm not going to talk about that situation, but the person who accused Joe of doing whatever, you know, the girl that was on his network, between that, between Mel Ford, and between the way it seems like things is going with Mona, I think it's best if Joe just leaves it with niggas. Like, I think he just needs to leave it as a dude cast permanently, because it seems like and I already said this. I said this before when Mel was here. It doesn't really matter what woman you put in that seat. Your overwhelming majority, I don't want to say overwhelming majority, but a lot of and I want to be clear. Let me be clear, like my girl Rachel Lindsay was. Specific men. There is a group of specific men in that community that it doesn't matter what woman sits in that spot, they're going to have a problem. They'll never admittedly say, oh, it's because she's a woman, and they might not even consciously think that, but subconsciously that's what it is. A lot of y'all simply just don't want a woman on the show, and that's perfectly fine. I told y'all before, I don't feel like this was a safe space for Mel, not at all. And if you really want to talk about, to me, I feel like specifically like what's going on with Mona, I'ma just be real. Yes, like I said, Mona does kind of talk a lot, but it's getting to the point where it's like, it just seems like they ignore her. Like, not even necessarily when she's talking. Even when she's talking, it seems like they completely ignore her. Like, she's not even there. Sometimes it is like that. Sometimes it's like they talking past her. Not even like that she's there. They talk past her. It seems like they're uninterested when she does speak. And one of the things too, and this is like more on just a like double standard, you know, same shit that they would do to Mel, like, because it's 7 to 8 niggas in a room, they could all talk about, you know, all of the bitches that they fucked in and how they did it and when they did it and all this other stuff. But then when Mona jumps in and speaks about, like, you know, let's just say sex for whatever reason from a female side, then the room gets quiet and it's, oh, let's just move on and let's not talk about, oh, you killed the whole vibe. And that's what they would do to Mel too. Again, like I said, it's not necessarily Mel, it's the fact that she's a woman. If y'all can sit around here and talk about sex and what y'all do, why can't I put in my 2 cents as a woman as about what I may have experienced? And it's not even so much that y'all are like, how do I explain it? It's not even so much that y'all don't want to necessarily like hear that. It's just, again, the way that y'all react to it, it's very like dismissive or whatever. And it's like, it makes no sense that y'all have a woman, like y'all specifically have one woman on this show, whether it's Mona or Mel or Sasha, y'all specifically have one woman on the show because y'all need a woman's perspective. But every single time a woman puts her perspective forward, y'all either laugh at it or y'all completely shut it down and y'all don't want to talk about it because to y'all it's gay. Nobody wants to talk about the dick that you got because it's gay. So if that's the point, what the fuck is the point of a woman being on this show if she can't speak from a woman's perspective without all of y'all either, like I said, completely shutting her down, ignoring her, or being like, oh, that's gay, I don't want to talk about dick. So why do you have her on the show? If all y'all want to talk about is boobs and bitches, then that's fine, but get the bitch and the boob off the show. That doesn't make sense to me otherwise. And similar to, not exactly similar, but I feel like what it maybe seems like to people, because some people are like, oh, it seems like Mona is just like not interested. It seems like she's kind of tired of like she may just be tired of like trying to fit in, right? Because it seems like she is trying to, like change, and she's listening to certain things and she's taking in feedback, but I'm pretty sure she probably feels like, I don't think it matters what I do. I don't think I'm ever gonna really fit in. And I think Mona tried to lean in a little bit into like, like the niggerdom of it all, because it's a bunch of niggas. So she tried to lean, and she tries to lean into the niggerdom of it all, but it's like it falls flat every time, because the guys are just not as interested. You get what I'm saying? They're not interested. And this is why I said, and I stand by this, and I know people are like, oh, Mel said she didn't want another woman on the show. Okay, Mel could have said that, but I think if somebody would have sat Mel down with somebody like Mona and been like, look, we want y'all two on here because the point is for y'all to support each other. We're not here to pit nobody against each other. We want y'all to both be on the show, at the same time. Y'all don't have to, but if y'all want to, y'all can be on at the show at the same time. So, Melissa, you could feel like you got some backup, and Mona, maybe you could feel like you got some backup on certain things. But the point of the matter is that there is no balance. And I've been saying this from the very beginning. When Melissa Ford was still on the show, I said, you guys need another woman because you need somebody to be able to back Mel up when Mel was not able to articulate correctly, when Mel was not getting her point across the right way, when Mel is kind of like pretty much being jumped on by not jumped, but you know what I mean? Like when everybody is coming at her with all 7, 8 opinions and it's just her, she can't fight all of y'all by herself. I think it makes sense to add another woman to the show to balance it out. And that's how I feel the same thing applies to Mona. Mona sometimes is a little bit too so you need another woman there that's gonna balance that out with a little bit of calm. You know what I mean? Like I said before, I think no matter what woman sits in that spot, she's always going to be at a disadvantage because she's a woman. She's in a room. And a woman with a room of majority men. So off top, that's just a barrier within itself, right? From the way that you communicate with each other, from the way, that you relate to certain things. And then also specifically when it comes to the audience, like I said, there is a specific group within this community that regardless of what woman it is, they're always going to shit on whatever woman it is because they don't want a woman on the cast. They want it to be all niggas. They'll never say that, but they want it to be all niggas. So I feel like, again, Mona, similar to Mel, needs another woman there. She needs somebody else so that she could feel supported, because mostly what they feel is ganged up on. That's what they feel. They feel ganged up on. It's 10 of us in a room and everybody is on the same page about a topic for the most part except me. And then when I try to lean into it, right, to try to be on your side, it's like y'all kind of play her a little bit to the side. So that's why I think it's funny, like when Mel used to be like, oh, like I'm like the guys, and they're like, you're not like the guys, and if you was like the guys, you would da 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 da. Okay, Mona fits some of those things that y'all say, and y'all still pay her dust. It needs to be no women on this show is the long story part. The long part of it. I don't think that the Joe Budden podcast or network can handle having a woman on the show. If it's not going to be more than two at the same time, which it shouldn't be because it's already too many damn people on a mic, we ought just not do it. So, in my personal opinion, we should just pull Mona and just let it be them niggas, right? But I did put up a tweet because I saw a bunch of people, like I said, complaining, not just about Mona, but like I said, about the show in general. This is the tweet that I put up, and we're going to go through each point as fast as possible because I don't know how much time I got on my damn camera. I'm not got a little bit of time. Okay, so the tweet was, there's a few things going on that's happening here. Sorry, there's a few things that's happening. Number one, the show has plateaued. So let's start there. I said in my last video that I felt like the show was declining. I think it's better to say, like I said, that it has plateaued. If you don't know, plateaued means just right here. It ain't here. It ain't here. It's just kind of coasting at this point. I think because the show has been on for like 10 years, you know, we've seen obviously a lot of different shakeups, you know, in the cast, but it feels as if, you know, Mel and Flip came on like 2 years ago. You know, it kind of switched up the dynamic because, you know, you had Mel, which is a woman, then you got Flip, who's a little bit of a wild card. Okay, cool. And that cast was actually working really, really well, but it still felt like maybe something was missing. And then Mark comes in and it's like, got it. That's what was missing. Mark was missing. So it kind of turned up your volume a little bit last year because you added Mark, which was a, you know, like a good, he's just like a good person to throw into a dynamic like that. So it kind of mixed things up. But Mel left, and then Flip is like, trust this part, I don't care that Flip's not on the show as much, but I know a lot of people complain about that. Like, Mel's no longer on the show. Flip is barely there. Mona seems to, like I said, the fans seem to not be taken to Mona in the way that people probably thought that she was. And in our reality, it just feels like I said, it feels like this show is right here. We ain't really doing nothing. The content itself is mundane at this point. Like, it's mundane. And I, to be fair, like I said, they've been on for a long time. And they shoot, like 2-3 times a week or whatever. So after a while, yeah, there's not really much more that we can really hear these niggas talk about because, like, if we say like Ice and Ish, they've been on the show I think for like maybe almost 5 years now, 4 to 5 years. There's only but so many things, but new things that we can hear them talk about, right? Or at least that they're willing to talk about on camera. So it's like, as we'll get into another point, just about kind of like the repetition, sorry, conversation and dynamic is just kind of getting stale at this point. And at this point, like, there ain't no real, it's just right here. It ain't nothing that I need to be checking in for. It's nothing that I'm excited about. Like, it's just all, it's okay. It's all right. It's okay. My second point was, I said, the listeners have outgrown the cast / show, and people on the show haven't maybe grown as much. And I said this on my last video too. So for me, right, this show has been on for like 10 or 11 years, meaning, now I'm gonna be fair, I didn't start listening to the Joe Budden podcast until after Everyday Struggle went off air. So that's when I started watching. Whenever they canceled Everyday Struggle, that's when I started listening to the Joe Budden podcast. Now, I've had heard of it, but I didn't care because I didn't give a shit about Joe Budden, to be quite honest. But yeah, so whatever time frame that is, that I was definitely probably like coming, I think, out of college around that time. So let's just say like 2017, 2018 or whatever. I'm like 21, 22 years old. Let's fast forward to now, or 2023, 24, so whatever. And let's fast forward to now, right? In 2026, I am 31. I have a freaking 2-year-old. I have a 401k and a nigga. Like, my life is very different than when it was when I first started listening to this podcast. And I have grown and I have changed my thoughts, my views, you know, just a lot of things have changed, and it feels, I want to be fair, Joe has definitely grown in a lot of ways, but in a lot of ways, like, the show itself has not really grown. Especially like in a lot of their talking points, it really hasn't grown. It seems like they are still very barbershop, and this is not to be like rude or anything or try to say that there's anything wrong with it, but it doesn't feel like this show has ever elevated outside of barbershop talk. And I feel like your audience has grown and got older, and a lot of us don't want to hear that shit, or we don't even necessarily mind the topics, but in the way that you guys speak about it, we don't want to hear that shit. We don't want to sit around and hear a podcast that's been on for 10 plus years be as ill-informed as you guys are. Thank God for Mark being there is the only reason that y'all are as informed as y'all are. That's why the pods that like Mark misses, you'll hear Flip be like, oh, I wish Mark was here. I wish Mark was here. Yeah, because y'all niggas is too lazy to actually do the freaking research. Y'all don't want to do the research. So again, I feel like what else is happening, number 2, is that your audience has grown. And when I mean grown, I mean like we've grown and matured and got older. And it feels like you niggas have not. It feels like you niggas, again, plateaued. Right here. Right fucking here. Right here. Number 3, I said same topic. So that goes back into my first point, which is all y'all talk about, outside of whatever is on the news, y'all talk about bitches and boobs. Like, or I guess both of those same things. Like, nobody wants to, like, I don't want to say nobody. There's only but so much ish in Joe escort stories that we can hear. There's only but so many times we can sit here and have Imani tell us about the porn star that he was dating. There's only but so many times that we can talk about the time that ICE let the cops into the house. Like, again, I'm trying to give the benefit of the doubt because of the fact that they've been on air for so long. A lot of things are going to get recycled. That's facts. However, it doesn't make for good podcasting. And outside of like, what I just said is like stories, but outside of the stories, I'm just talking about the topics themselves. You can talk about women in relationships. That's fine. But y'all talk about it in the same way, in the same capacity, every single damn week. Nobody, if we're gonna like have conversations about women and relationships and family, like, let's be a little bit more nuanced and delve a little bit deeper into these conversations. But y'all always keep this shit right here, again, right here, surface level, plateau. Y'all don't ever want to go no daggone deeper. And when y'all do, which goes to my 4th point, which was Joe steps on everything. That's not his point. And then the rest of my tweet says, so yes, people are unhappy with the show. And I got a bunch of likes on that and a bunch of people commenting saying pretty much exactly. Other problem. I get it. This is the Joe Budden podcast. We get it. It's the Joe Budden podcast. We get it. And especially since Rory and Mal, that whole split happened, you know, I think it's been very like clear, you know, that Joe was like, this is my show. I'm running it the way that I want to. And Ish and specifically Ish and Ice have always like been very forthright, like, well, like, this is your show, like, you the boss, you tell us what to do, da 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 da. And there's nothing wrong with that. However, I feel like maybe it's just me, but I feel like over the last, like, there's a little clip that he always uses when it's like, oh, pass the ball, when he feels like somebody's kind of dragging on the topic. But I feel like the last like few months to a year, Joe has been very nasty about how he wants to change topics. It's very like, I know we're not sitting here talking about that. And sometimes it's actually something that's interesting just because, and again, it's your show and that's fine. But just because it's not interesting to you, that doesn't mean that it's not interesting to the audience. Because what he'll say is, I don't think the audience wants to hear about that. Actually, a lot of times when you're stepping on their shit, we do want to hear about it. But you're too busy stepping on your co-host shit and too worried about whatever fuck you want to talk about that you're not recognizing that. And it happens all the time at this point. And again, it's less about you being like, oh, pass the ball. And again, to me, it's more so how you do it. You're very nasty. You're very condescending. You're very, we're not going to talk about that. And we're not like, bro, like, calm the fuck down. Like, it's not like you could do this show by yourself, because that's another thing too. Like, yes, it's called the Joe Budden Podcast, but if that was the case and it was only about you, you wouldn't have needed to call Ice or Ish when Rory and Maul left. You would have did that shit by yourself. But guess what? You can't, because you cannot do it on your own. It's not only your thoughts and your opinions that matter here. Yes, it's your show, and most people are coming to hear what you have to say. That is true. But be very clear, your supporting cats is why you are where you are. So when you constantly step on their shit, and not just step on it, but when you do it very like condescendingly, and you do it very much so like like who then wants to actually put something forward? And I've seen a lot of people on the show be like, you want to know what? No, you got it. I'm not bringing up nothing. I'm not introducing no topic. I think Ish tried to introduce a topic, and everybody, and like Joe laughed at him. It's like, do you want people to participate or no? You get mad when niggas is on their phone, but then when niggas is actually participating in a conversation and trying to get deep into some shit, you want to cut it off because you feel like, oh, this da 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 da. And this is my whole thing. It would be one thing if Joe never heard that criticism before, but he has heard that criticism by the fans so much that stop stepping on the co-host shit. You're killing the vibe. And I remember when he was gone, maybe like a year ago or something. It was sometime last year, and he had one on vacation. And when he had one on vacation and it was just the regular cast, everybody was getting their shit off. The show was flowing very, very smooth. And when he came back, he was like, oh, I just find it interesting that, oh, when I was going, oh, now everybody got something to say, and everybody and the fans are in the comments like, well, yeah, because Joe's not there to step on his shit, because you weren't. That's the facts. That's the facts of the matter. Factual. So it's like, again, yes, your show, but again, your voice and your opinion and the topics that you bring up ain't the only thing that niggas give a shit about. That's the real facts of the matter when it gets down to it, period. And like I said, overall, I feel like the show has plateaued. I'm gonna tell you really what let's get down to the get down so I can get the hell up out of here, right? The point of the matter is that Joe's vision did not go at all how he wanted it to. The only person that is somewhat helping, like, is kind of somewhat doing the way that Joe kind of envisioned everything, is Mark. That's it. And that's why he favors Mark, like I said in my other video. Joe it's the Joe Budden Podcast, but it's the Joe Budden Network. Y'all tell me, outside of his show, what other show is on his network? What other show does the Joe Budden Network have? They don't. All they have is the Joe Budden Podcast. What Joe really wanted is, like he said, when Maul Rory was on there, was Maul, you do a sports show. Rory, you do something else. That's what he wants the cast to do now. He wanted Ish to do some type of home shit. Ice could do like some type of gaming thing. Parks could do this, so that he could have all of these people that he's cool with, whatever, have their own show, but they all underneath his network, so that eventually Joe don't have to keep coming on here and sitting his ass on here and talk. But at the end of the day, that's not how everything went. And it doesn't seem like, outside of Mark, like I said, it doesn't seem like that is a true passion for everybody else. So you need to really figure it out. I don't know what the hell is going on. Like I said, it's probably it's all of the reasons that I said, and there is just an energy about the show that is completely off. It could be just that Joe was making so much money, maybe, that like he's getting a little bit out of touch with like how his show was coming off. But yeah, I am done. Like I said, I mean, I've been done. I don't watch the show nearly as much. And like I said, all of the complaints to me, I think they're extremely valid. But yeah, y'all get in the comments. Y'all tell me what y'all think. Do y'all watch the show as much? Do y'all think that Mona is a good host? I've seen people say that they feel like they should bring in somebody younger, like similar to Jaywan. Do you think it's just that they're missing, like, you know, like the youth? Because they're all like in their pretty much mid in their 40s and up. So do you think that's what it is too? Get in the comments what you think. Bye.